You noble diggers, all stand up now.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about that oil tanker that that Trump's government seized off the coast of Venezuela. We're doing this because I saw a lot of tweets that were surrounding the same joke, that people were like, this is piracy. And the most common response, top response comment was always, well, technically it's privateering.
We're gonna steal the ship.
Commandeer. We're going to commandeer that ship, Nautical Town.
And no, that's not correct. It is piracy under international law. Privateering requires a letter of marque while at war with an enemy nation. The United States is not at war. Um, and also the sanctions that it has imposed unilaterally on Venezuela are illegal under the United Nations law. That sanctions of any kind are require United Nations Security Council, United Nations Security Council consent. Um, this is not really a Venezuelan tanker. It belongs to a Russian. His name was Viktor Artemov. His name is Viktor Artemov. And he operates like a shadow fleet trying to get around the sanctions imposed on Russia, so that they can fund their allies around the world. The ones that the US points to as the damning examples that allow it to take over this ship, that there are relations that this Viktor Artemov has, that this trade fleet has, that mean that it is open to commandeering. But these are the paper thin justifications. The IRGC is the one that they tout that really makes no sense, because the IRGC is a military unit or formation of the Iranians. So they're not terrorists. They're a legitimate armed force of a legitimate nation on the world stage. Uh, and Hezbollah, I also believe, is a legitimate state actor, army, militia, but international law would probably disagree with me because of the West's hegemony. But I would say, de jure, maybe you guys are right, but de facto, I'm right, that Lebanon's military is Hezbollah, and that Lebanon doesn't exist outside of Hezbollah. That Lebanon itself is an extension of American imperial will, and that the only true representation of the will of the Lebanese people is Hezbollah. Okay, so now that we've talked about it and we know that it is piracy, I wanted to say that it doesn't make Trump look strong. This is a sign of weakness. You have to be a stupid to think this makes you look strong. All the world's oceans were the Americans. There are very few spots on Earth that the Americans can't sail confidently. And if the Americans can sail confidently anywhere, that means trade can sail confidently through those same passages. This will have a chilling effect on the markets that the Americans already own. That this will have the same implications as the secondary sanctions that were in the news some time ago, when Trump was considering levying sanctions on nations that were ignoring the sanctions imposed on countries like Russia. For instance, India is a major buyer of Russian oil right now, despite being an ally of the Americans, technically. This is weakness, though. This is strength. Who cares if the Russians and the Iranians are selling oil to each other backdoor, and the Venezuelans to the Cubans? That can't possibly compete with what we just lost, which is the full faith and credit of the insurance markets. this will have a reification effect. It will make the markets and market actors act in a certain way. You don't take risks if you can't be insured, and you don't insure things that are too risky. It will cause people to react all the way down in these markets, and it will not be good for the American empire and those of us unlucky enough to live under it. War is costly, expensive. You should have definite goals, and you should achieve them violently, immediately, as quickly as possible, and avoid it if at all possible. But just bringing violence to the international marketplace that is the high seas, it will not help the Americans. How much oil could you have gotten out of this tanker? I heard it was millions of barrels. You drink millions of barrels every day. You can't capture oil tankers to feed the economy. You need all the mineral resources out of Venezuela to complete the imperial plan that the Rubio department has foisted on Latin America, which is to extract the debt that America owes 38 trillion and counting from the Venezuelan rich resources of gold and rare earths and oil. 17 or 20 trillion dollars, I think they figured they could extract out of there to mitigate the losses on the balance sheet. That won't work though, it just won't work. It's very easy to sink a ship, and people will start to do it all the time. Everyone knows now, maybe not at the time, that the sanctions that were imposed on Japan for oil caused them to go to war in World War II. It's because sanctions are an aggressive military action. It is essentially a blockade. When the Americans blockaded the South during the Civil War, it almost caused the British to join the war on the side of the South, because it's an aggressive action against the British. When the British blockaded the French during the Napoleonic Wars, it caused the Americans to go to war with the British, because it's an aggressive economic action against them. It is war footing. And especially when you keep in mind that sanctions should only be imposed under UN law, that the US set up. The US set up the UN, so they're breaking the rules that they set. That sanctions should only be imposed with the United Nations Security Council assent. That means that there's like no sanctions that are lawful on Earth. It'd be like North Korea, and that's it. I think those are immoral too, just for a footnote on it. But they would be lawful under UN law, at least. I'm reminded of this quote from a BBC show about King Henry VIII, and it's from one of his advisors. I can't remember his name right now. He's a famous person, though. Cromwell, I think it's whatever. The king likes war too much and likes trade too little. There's nothing to be gained from war unless we're going to go pilfer, take the gold reserves from countries like the Nazis did. Their economy was about to fall over in 1939. They were printing money out the wazoo, and they stole gold reserves in succession from smaller countries that gave them the assets to leverage even more cash to pay for more debt. This oil cannot be that. It's not enough. It's not enough money. What it has done is shaken the faith in the markets that give us the money that we rely on every day. So anyways, this was piracy, not privateering. Thank you. Have a good day.
Welcome, comrade. Never forget the form.